Good evening, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. It is time for Hope and Action Network's Friend of a Wounded Heart program, which comes to you every Wednesday at 9 p.m. We are excited at this time because we know that you will join us and that you're going to share in our discussions and that you will contribute as well. It is always a pleasure to have you here. So I warmly welcome you to this evening's program. And let me just say a word of prayer as we begin. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for taking us through this day and for bringing us to this point one more time when we will share, we'll interact on Friend of a Wounded Heart. But you are the friend of a wounded heart, and we ask you to please guide our deliberations, control our discussions, bring people on who need to hear, touch our internet so that the connectivity would remain strong, and maybe indeed have a very fruitful evening, be with the one who has agreed to present. And Lord, may her words come through with clarity. We thank you for her. We pray that you continue to bless and bless each of us in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. So, Keisha, what's happening, girl?
Hi, good evening, and good evening, everyone. I am good.
Yeah,
Using that widely.
I
Good.
know what you mean, eh? I know how we dart into this program on Wednesday evenings. I know. Now, our listeners or participants many times do not know the kind of Wednesdays we have, but we know, but we thank
Yes.
God for this time because it's a time too that is so refreshing. It's
Yes.
a time to meet with such good company that we do not mind the challenges of the day. We're happy to be here. So
Yes.
tell us, yeah, why are we here?
Why are we here? So every Wednesday evening, we are here to fulfill our vision at Hope and Action Network. And that vision reads, a better society built on strong foundations through the empowerment of everyone. So topic by topic, week by week, we are here to fulfill that vision. I'm just going to leave us really quickly with the last five topics we will have discussed. Now, today we are on session number 121. So we have a few sessions that you can, well, few that's been used loosely, but there are some sessions that you can go and view. The last session last week, we talked about Treat Me Nice. It was a really good session that related to International Women's Day. And if you're new onto this program, we try to have programs and topics related to events or dates, important dates in our calendar. And so, as International Women's Day was last Saturday, we had that topic, Treat Me Nice, a really interesting topic. Prior to that, on February 26th, we spoke about Be Safe. That was about the time of carnival season. So persons who were going to camp, persons who were participating in whatever during that season. Of course, it is always a reminder to be safe. On February 19th, we had a presentation entitled Don't Take a Tush. And that presentation dealt with, it initially started off with, not taking adults, well, young children taking adults' vehicle, but it went so much broader than that. And, we see the consequences of just taking a chance to do something and then having long-lasting consequences, no matter what it is. On February 12th, we looked at something in the way she moves, and that was around the time of Valentine.
Hi.
And so that was a really nice and light program. And we had a wonderful time that day. And if you like to experience that, you can go back either YouTube or Facebook to find that recording. And on February 5th, we talked about parents beware, financial extortion is real. So again, all of our sessions are recorded. You can find them on Facebook. You can find it on YouTube as well. Just look for Hope and Action Network and you're going to find all 120 sessions. And once this one is over,
And that
121.
one.
This evening, we are going to talk about SERÁ. I pass you over to Dr. Ward, who will give us a little bit of an introduction to this evening's topic and introduce our speaker for this evening.
Hakisha, I'm not sure why you passed me back so quickly. I thought you were going to sing.
Oh gosh, no.
When I was just a little girl,
That's
I
your.
asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be pretty? Will I be rich? Here's what she said to me. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. And Akisha told me that she knows this song. I was a bit surprised, given her age. However, it is a song that has come through the ages. In fact, it was written by Jay Livingston and Ray Evans, and it was first published in 1955, and that was before I was. So some things happened before I was born. Doris Day introduced it in a film, The Man Who Knew Too Much. And the three verses of the song progress through the life of the narrator from childhood through young adulthood and then falling in love and then to parenthood. And each one is asking, what will I be? What lies ahead? And the chorus repeats the answer, what will be, will be. And we know that there's some things over which we have no control, but there are many things over which we have some control. And so this evening, we are going to look at parenting, and compare it with what the song is asking. Yes, we have no control over whether we'll have long hair or short hair. Well, nowadays people buy weaves and so on, but it's not about that. It's about whether genetically you'll have long hair or short hair, you'll be pretty and so on. But I remember the Bible says, train up the child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he'll not depart from it. So it means that we have some level of control. And this evening, as we speak about parenting, we are going to look at it from that perspective, that there are things that we can do. We cannot throw our hands up in the air. We were given children, they are heritage of the Lord, and we have to do our duties. So this evening we have a very special guest, and I use guest in inverted commas because this lady is known to us on our program. She joins us regularly and she contributes. Whenever she's here, she's not silent. And I'm speaking about Rebecca Beckles, and she will introduce herself some more. She works in the helping profession, I should say, and she will tell us exactly what she does. She interacts with children from day to day, so she understands parenting issues. Thank you, Rebecca, for joining us, even at very, very, very short notice. We love you and we welcome you to this program as a presenter this evening.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, Dr. Ward, for having me. And I was telling somebody that I'm going to be presenting tonight, and we'll be talking about parenting. And it was kind of like I could sense the question mark coming through the WhatsApp message, because I'm not a parent, so what am I going to be talking about? But I like to tell people that because I have been a guidance officer for the past 19 years now and work with children from primary school, not so much primary school, but I interacted with the primary school ones, but mainly secondary school. So that would be about ages 11 right up to 21. I've seen situations, I've observed children, I've observed parents, and I think I can speak to some of the issues that arise. And I find that a lot of what I see could have been prevented if parents were a little more intentional in their parenting. So no, I don't have children. No, I never wanted children. However, I think that interacting with children, I have picked up a thing or two that we can share together. I do want to start off by saying, though, that I always find it unfortunate that some people tend to become parents so easily, while others seem to struggle and struggle. And some of these people who struggle, they seem to have had everything in place to make them really good parents, but somehow life did not allow them to be biological parents, right? And then these other people who pop out children so easily, they seem to have no plan. You know, they come, they go. It doesn't really matter if a Friday falls on a Wednesday. They're hoping for the best, although not putting anything in place to contribute to the best happening. So I think that if we have people who are more intentional about their methods of parenting, about being involved in their children's lives, then a lot of the issues that we see in the social services, a lot of these issues could have been avoided. Of course, that is not to say that we don't see children or even adults whose parents were not intentional, maybe whose parents were even very absent. And we see these people growing up to be very productive, positive contributors to society, definitely. But bearing all that in mind, we will go into tonight's discussion. And it's a discussion because at some point I'm going to ask questions. And of course, I have been on here long enough to know that you all are not shy. You're going to put up your hand and you will respond. So let us go. So we're starting off by asking the question, who is a parent? So biologically, someone who gives birth to or contributed to the birth of, nurtures, raises a child, or acts in the role of a caregiver or a guardian. Now, of course, we also have the adoptive parents who have legal and parental responsibility for the child. We have the caregivers or the guardians, such as the foster parents, the step parents, or the legal guardian. In legal terms, someone who the state determines to be a parent can also be considered a parent. I often hear people say, it's easy for you to become a mother, but it's not always that that person is a mom. So you're a mother because you push the child out. So biologically, you're the mother, but you're not the mom. What do we think about that statement? Biologically, you made the child, so you're the mom, you're the mother, but you're not really the mom. What do we think about that statement? Or as a dad, you contributed, you're the father, but you're not really the dad. What do we think about that? Rebecca, you listed. Oh, you're muted, Dr. Ward. You're on mute.
Yes, if you are the mother and not the mom, it just leaves us at a base level, the level of the physical. And all that goes into parenting, it means that you don't practice it. So it was just an act, a one time, a moment, an act of the moment, bringing a child into the world, and that was that. However, it's more than that.
Mhm.
It's more than that.
And that was my similar contribution because you listed a few elements of being a parent, not just giving birth. Nurturing, you listed a few other things. And if it's just to give birth or to assist in giving birth, then you only kind of like ticked off one of the boxes. And so I that's why somebody may make that statement. Because sometimes I see parents come to school, they probably would come because there's some issue with their child, and they tend to want to give all responsibility across to the teacher. So if the child is misbehaving, it's because the teacher did not hold the class tight enough. The teacher did not discipline the class. The teacher does not have enough classroom control. If the child misbehaves, if the principal does not have this school under tight rein, and I'm thinking,
Mm.
so what's the responsibility of the parents? So the government provides the meals, and there was a time when the government used to provide the uniform and the books and all that, and the
Mhm.
teachers provide the discipline. So is it that the parents' job is just to push out the child?
Provide a child.
I mean, sometimes I wonder. So one of the questions that I get asked, well, I have not been getting it as much. People have not been coming for me lately. They always ask, you don't want any children? And I say no, since I was a child, I did not want children. And I really am quite okay with that. And up to this point, I have no regrets. One person actually asked me, so what is your purpose on earth then? So apparently my purpose on earth is to produce more humans. And then she could not understand that if I was not fulfilling that purpose, then what else could my purpose possibly be? Now,
Hmm.
interestingly, I've met several persons who, when some, the majority of them, they were not married when they discovered that their girlfriend was pregnant. Um, they were trying to get her to get rid of the baby, and she did not. And now they're saying, no, Rebecca, you need to have a child, children are very important, children are heritage. And I'm thinking, but didn't you want to not have yours? How come you're changing your mind and saying that they're important? So why did you not want yours when you were having anyway? People have their different ideas as to why they should have children. So here are some of the more popular reasons why people actually want children. Someone once told me, what you mean? Because I asked, why did you have a child? And they seemed very confused that I would actually ask that question. So they said, what you mean? Everybody want a child? And I said, no, not every, I don't want, yeah, but that's you, but so apparently it's a thing to do. We're supposed to make children. Actually, a couple of persons told me, one lady said, I don't really like children, so I only make one.
Hmm.
Another person said, um, I don't like children either, because I said, I don't want any, I don't want children either, so I just make two. So whether or not you like children, it's something that you have to do. So that's one of the reasons people make children, because it's something as human beings we have to do. We have to create another human being. Um, People also make children to have somebody to take care of them when they get older. So it's like a kind of insurance policy thing. You need to have somebody to bring soup for you in the hospital. One of my colleagues actually told me that. So when you get old and you're in the hospital, who will bring soup for you? So you need to have somebody to live by when you get old and you can't live by yourself anymore. You need somebody to financially take care of you, somebody to be there in case you can't walk and you need some assistance in walking. So your children are there to take care of you. It's like your insurance policy. So that is why some people make a whole lot. So just in case a couple of them leave and don't come back, you have some extras who will stick around. Another reason, to get grandchildren. Now that seems to be a big thing. And my mother and I have a running joke about this, because we always hear people say, I could hardly wait for my children to make grandchildren for me. And they say that's every parent's dream, to have grandchildren. And mommy says, maybe I don't sleep enough, so I don't get enough dreams, because I haven't really been dreaming about that. So yes, people could remember the days when they had their children and they did struggle, but now, the children are grown, the children are all adults, and things are a little more relaxed. So now they could lean back and spoil the little ones coming after. So they want the grandchildren to spoil, to have fun with, and to send back the little ones who now can be under the category of return to sender. So you no longer have to stay and stress and everything, because there's somebody that you can send them back to. So another reason why you want children is so that you can get grandchildren. One guy was actually saying jokingly that if he knew grandchildren was so much fun, he would have made his grandchildren first and then make the children after. All right. Of course, there are people who make children and they didn't really plan to make children. I asked the lady, why do people make children? So that's after we had a session with a parent, and it was a particularly stressful one, and the mother was so stressed out. And I asked the question, why do people make children? And the principal told me, a lot of people don't go for children. The children just kind of happen, and they keep the child. But a lot of people did not plan to have their children. They just happen to have their children. Another reason, why do people make children? you need to leave a heritage. So for a lot of persons, having children is the heritage that they see themselves leaving. One person actually asked me, we need to leave a heritage. If you don't have any children, what heritage are you leaving? So then the persons who cannot make children, I guess they just cannot leave a heritage, if that is the reason we're going with. And I do believe there are lots of other ways that we can leave a heritage, and not necessarily by only having children. You can live your life in such a way that people, whenever they hear your name, they remember you as being the person who was always being helpful, the person who was active in church and encouraging people, the person who was always in the neighborhood teaching the little children lessons. There are lots of other ways that you can leave a heritage. You can start a company, and when they see the company, they would automatically think of you. You can start a fund in a school to help needy children. That is also a heritage. So no, you don't necessarily have to make children in order to leave a heritage. But of course, for a lot of persons, leaving a child is the best way. And for some persons, the only way that you really do leave a heritage. Anything after is not as important. For some persons, making a child is seen as an achievement. So even if they don't have anything else going for them, maybe they did not complete their degree, maybe they don't have a lot of money, they tell you, at least I have a child. So it's something that they see as an achievement. Whether or not they can properly take care of the child, it is something that they achieved in life. And the last reason I'm offering up here why people make children, to prove that they are not barren. Not so much today, I think, but years ago, it was a big thing if as a woman you were married and you did not make children. They would ask and they would ask, and then they would just go ahead and conclude that God shut up your womb. And that was such a terrible thing. You went to the ends of the earth to see if you can go through some sort of medical procedure to make a child, because you were not complete as a woman if you did not have a child. And so for some people, even if it's one, they have to have a child. So those are some of the reasons that I have gotten from people over the years in asking them, why did you make a child? Why do you want children? Are there any other reasons that you know of that people tell you or people use as a reason they made children that I did not list?
Pleasant good evening, Dr. Bob, and those online tonight.
Good evening.
This question is to the presenter.
Good
Why
night.
you did not want a child?
A number of reasons. Number one, from a very young age, I recognized the huge responsibility that is parenting, and I just did not want the job. I felt that it was not an issue of me not being a good mom, but I just felt that it is a lot. It is a whole lot. And I preferred to, again, very young, I decided that I wanted to be a guidance officer. And in that way, I would support people who have children. And I felt that that was my contribution. And as a guidance officer, I felt that at the end of every day, I needed to get home and really catch myself. And if I had children and they didn't see me for the entire day, when I go home, they would need my attention. And that is the time when I would need to pick up all my nerves to get ready to go and face people's children next day. And I just felt that that was going to be too much. That was one reason. Our next reason is when my mother had us, she stayed home. She stayed home until each of us went to school. So she stayed home until I was about 5 years old. And I always felt that if I made children, I wanted to do the same thing, because I have an issue with making my child, and when the baby is about 5 years old, 3 months old, dropping them by somebody else to train. I just felt that my baby was going to be mine to mine and train and groom. And so even if it's by a relative and we share the same or similar beliefs, I felt that it should be my duty. So I would want to stay home until my baby is about 5 years old before I went back to work. And I always wanted to be a career woman, a working woman. So I couldn't see myself being home, not working for 5 years. Although looking back now, I don't think I was just going to be home cleaning bottoms and making bottles. I'm sure I was going to find something to do while at home, but that was my reason, my two main reasons. And I really don't have any regrets. I'm taking care of the people's children at school. One of them actually told me, Miss, you don't want children? Okay, I'll be your son. And he started to call me mom, and I had no problem with it. So yeah, I have people, if at any point you all see me screaming and running, it's not a burglar in my house, right? There's a cockroach circling me here, but I'll be fine. All right, so I enjoy taking care of other people's children as a guidance officer. And at the end of the day, they go home, I come home, I breathe, I gather myself, and I go out next day. And I'm quite okay with that.
So no young man ever proposed to you to fall in love with him?
Yes, yes. And I always felt that I could convince him, I could make him so in love with me that he wouldn't, like in the Bible when Elkanah says, am I not more to you than 10 sons? I just really felt that he would be so in love with me that he wouldn't want children. I was hoping that it would come to that. Yeah.
Okay, looking at you, you're beautiful, beautiful face, beautiful smiling. I'm enjoying what you were saying.
Thank you. But yeah,
You're welcome.
I did get quite a few, shouldn't say a lot of, quite a few proposals, but I always went in with the hope that the children would not be involved. Although,
getting back
yes.
to the question you asked about why some people would have children.
Yes.
Women in particular, a lot of women tended to have a child for the specific man that they happened to be with, to put it crudely. They felt that was one way of holding him.
That is true.
And
that is
sometimes men felt that if they were with a woman, she had to prove her love by having a child for him.
That is true. And I see that happen, and I up to recently, so you try to keep the man by making a child, so you hook him, but then that doesn't work. So now, in society's eyes, your resale value has gone down, right? So now you're going into another relationship, hoping that this man is going to accept you with your child, and he offers you the moon and the stars. But then you make a child for him, hoping that he will be loyal to you. And for some persons, this goes on, and you have one child with this one and he leaves, and you have a next child with the next one and he leaves, and you're still hoping that the other child for the other man will do the trick. Yeah, that really is still a reason that people make children.
Rebecca, I'm glad that you raised that point. And for some time, I thought it was limited to Trinidad and Tobago thinking. But I look at Kendra G life sometimes, and I grieve because there are women out there in the US and other places who log in looking for a partner, and some of them have 5, 6 children, 4 fathers, and they're searching for another person. But that for some of them, it simply means another child.
Yes.
Yeah. And I say simply, but it's not that simple, It's a real scary situation.
Because you hear, I hear it on divorce court a lot.
Oh yeah.
Where I come with my child, you come with your children, and then of course we do need to make a common child between us to, kind of bind us together. That is important. that we have one, and I keep saying, yeah, but if I have 2 and you have 3, but I's already 5, why we need an extra one? But it's the way a lot of people reason things out, and for them it makes sense, and who am I to judge? So, okay, so does anybody else have another reason why people make children? Okay,
Okay, I know for a young lady, she don't want to get married, but she wants a child. What do you think about that? She just want a child. She don't want to get married.
yeah, that is actually a thing. Because people say, you need a man for financial reasons, but if I don't need a man for the financial reasons, I just need his contribution toward making the child and forgetting the needs of the child. So it's not just only money, because you can give your children all the things that money can buy, and they're still not emotionally stable because they're not getting the other things that they need. So yeah, that is actually a thing. You can go into the bank and you can get a selection, a lineup of who this donor is, who that donor is, and you can select which one you want to get the best possible pick of a child. And yeah, that's actually a thing.
Okay.
So what are some of the roles and responsibilities of a parent to their children? And I think for me, that was one of the big things when it came to me deciding if I wanted children, because I felt that the role of a parent was so enormous and the list just did not have an end. And even when your children are grown and married, you're still a parent. You're a parent until one of you dies. It just never ends. And I see my mother and I live together, and I see that she is still taking care of me basically. And I'm like, I'm a grown adult, and my mother is still mothering me. Is it going to end? No, it does not. And I just felt like being a parent was such a huge responsibility, and I opted out. What I see is a lot of parents abandoning the job very early on. So we see parents coming in with their child, and the child is about 10 years old, maybe even younger, and the child is already out of control. The parent is already at wit's end. They don't know what to do because maybe they spoiled the child from early on. Maybe they felt that they should not be as strict. And now at a very young age, the parent does not know what to do, and they're hoping that the state or the school could help them. So what are some of the responsibilities that parents have toward their children? Keeping children healthy and safe. Now, healthy and safe may sound like 2 little words, but it's very wide, because there are cases where children grow up in environments where the parents are smoking, where the types of company the parents have over, they're questionable, and they don't see anything wrong with that. But of course, the child is at risk. The child's safety is at risk. You have environments where parents do not provide adequate food, not that they cannot, but sometimes they just say, okay, my child is picky, so they will just give them money and let the child decide what they would buy when they go to school. So healthy and safe, that is a responsibility for your children. Now, no one ever said that parenting is easy. So yes, there are times when your child might be picky, and you have to get really creative in terms of discovering what you're going to nourish them with. But it's your responsibility to nourish your child. Of course, if the child is sick, you have to be observant. See if the child needs to be taken to the doctor. Observe if they're developing properly. So you would be able to point certain things out when you go to the doctor. You don't leave it up to the teacher or the neighbor to say, your child looking a little undernourished, or there's a little ringworm you have there. It is your responsibility as a parent. And it's a lot because you are working, but you made a decision to be a parent. Most persons made a decision. So it really is up to you now to ensure that your child is healthy and safe. So every point I make, if anybody has a contribution, feel free to raise your hand or unmute your mic and make your contribution. It is the parents' duty as well to teach values to your children. So the values of the home, the values of the family, the values of the culture, religion, etc. So you teach values. There are a number of ways that we can teach values to our children. What are some of the ways that we can teach values to our children?
By example.
That is such a big way. Very simple. They tend to follow what they see. They don't even understand sometimes why they're doing what they're doing, but it's something that they have seen passed down through the ages, and they're going to see. Every Christmas, our family does this particular thing, and we are going to continue doing it because we like it, we enjoy it. We will pass it down until we get old enough to understand when it's explained to us why we are doing this particular thing. So teaching values is the responsibility of the parents. When you have a community and everybody seems to be so close-knit and everybody seems to have the same head, everybody's thinking the same way, it is because somebody, maybe most likely the older one, they're teaching the younger ones, they're passing it on. But when you have people who don't really care, and everybody is just scattered, that is when you see the community becomes a little bit fragmented because there seem to be no loyalty to any one particular tradition or culture or anything. So it's important that parents teach that. Now, when I was growing up, we had several persons in my family on my mother's side who used to talk patois, and we always heard of the Venezuelan influence and that Spanish lineage. And so I always felt closer to the Spanish side of me. On my father's side, nobody ever talked about where we came from. Yes, I heard a story of two brothers coming from Barbados, but for the most part, nobody ever spoke about where we came from, anything cultural, anything of significance. So up to this day, I tend to more acknowledge the Spanish side of me because I have heard more about them. I've actually witnessed my grandmother talking patois to my uncles when they did not want us to understand what they were saying. I understood that one of my relatives could not talk English, could barely talk English. So, and even our neighbors still in Diego Martin are from Venezuela. So because that was passed down, and I've heard it so many times, I feel more attached to that side. And that is just lineage. There are other things that we need to pass on to our children, especially if we consider them very important and we don't want them lost. We always hear, you know, there's this nice old lady who used to be able to grind up bush and make this and that, and then she died. And she didn't pass it on to anybody else, so it died with her. So if we talk more about our traditions, if we pass these things down, then they would not be lost. They would continue, and that is one role of parents as well. Being a parent involves more than just providing for the child's physical needs, also emotional needs.
You're muted, Rebecca.
Yeah, I saw the notification come up and I'm not so sure why. Am I back on now?
Yes.
Okay. Parents also have the responsibility to teach.
Okay, Rebecca, I'm sorry. It was me trying to mute someone else. Let me.
Okay, I think, yeah, I'm back
Yes.
on.
Mhm.
Right. Parents also have the responsibility to show love to their children. One of the ways, when I'm talking to parents in the other contexts that I present on the happy bedroom, I talk to parents about showing affection to each other in front of their children. You know, there's some people who are very secretive, you know, mommy and daddy hugging and kissing is not something the children ever see.
Okay, so Rebecca wonders, and she will be back.
Give me a second, please, people. I'm so sorry.
Yes, so we can continue the conversation while Rebecca is taking care of her visitor. And she was speaking about the happy bedroom and the importance of children realizing that the parents share love, that they bond in, that they share affection, that they call each other's or each, other by sweet names and so on. But we know long ago, we didn't see it with our parents. We didn't know. We didn't know what was happening between them. And I'm not saying that parents should expose themselves. Of course, we have to be cautious about what we do in front of children, but at least they should be able to see us hugging and kissing and sharing love words. In Sylvester, I'm sure I saw these love words on this evening. Sylvester and his wife. It teaches the children that husbands and wives are supposed to love each other and care for each other. It teaches them that they, in turn, should share that kind of relationship. I was trying to continue while you were gone. Did your visitor leave? Unmute, unmute.
Okay, people, I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, so it is important that children see their parents love each other so they can get an idea of what healthy love looks like. So when they get into a relationship, they would know what healthy love looks like. And it wouldn't be something that is foreign to them. Sometimes when children see their parents hug or kiss, it's like, ew. But they appreciate the affection that their parents are actually showing to each other. So when parents love each other, the children get to understand what love is, and they don't experience it for the first time when they go out and misinterpret what it is and get it wrong. So that is in terms of in a relationship. Also, it's important that parents show love to their children. It is important that even though the children make mistakes, children understand that they're not loved any less because of that. Children need to understand that, okay, my parents abusing me, that is not love. Even if I did something wrong and I was corrected, I was not abused. So they need to know the healthy love, they need to feel love, they need to know what appropriate behavior is in terms of love. And that comes from the parents. One of the things that I learned when I was doing sociology is that the interaction between a daughter and her father. I remember Miss Davidson was saying that it's important that fathers play with their daughters so that they are accustomed playing with a guy and it would not feel, okay, this is going in the wrong direction. Let me pull that back. It's important that fathers play with their daughters so that they know what is appropriate. So when you're playing with a guy, you know where your boundaries are supposed to be, and you would not just, oh, it's innocent play and nothing is going to happen. So it's important that they learn that from their dad. It's important that girls learn from their dad that they're pretty, that they're beautiful, that they have nice hair, that they have nice complexion, all those things. So when a guy comes up to you, you're not going to hear it for the first time, oh, you're pretty. And that's where I'm hearing it for the very first time, and I'm blushing and I'm going to fall for the first guy who tells me that because I did not know that I was pretty. It is important that mothers tell their sons that you are handsome, that your skin tone is lovely, all the nice things that the girls would tell him on the outside that will make him fall. It's important that parents be the ones to fill their children with this positive self-image that they can go out into this world with. It is also important as a parent, and I always tell my parents this, you need to help your children dream. What are you going to become when you grow up? And put some things in their head, you know, the way I see you, argue your case when you want to go out somewhere and I tell you no, the way you put forward that argument, I think you can become a good lawyer, you know. I noticed that you're really good with your hands. I think you can become a good construction worker or something. But it's important that parents help their children dream. I know when I was growing up, I never really had this conversation. Based on an experience, I decided what I wanted to be, and I have no regrets. However, there are some students, when I'm preparing them for selection of subjects, they are clueless. When I ask them, what are some of the things that you're good at? What are some of the things that other people are saying you are good at? They're drawing blanks. So parents, it's really important that you help your children dream. And the last one I would share in terms of responsibilities is preparing them for independent adulthood. Sometimes I think that parents wish their children would stay their babies forever and not grow up. There are lots of things that people have to learn on their own when they become adults that maybe they could have learned from their parents. Conflict resolution, how to cook, how to take care of yourself, handling money, giving them good relationship advice, all those things that carry over into being an independent adult, a positive contributor to society. It's important that parents play an active role in instilling that into their children. What are some of the responsibilities you can think of that parents have? Like I said, it's a lot. Parents have to do so much. And that is one of the reasons I opted out, and I opted not to take the job. So these that I listed, these are just a very few. But what are some of the other responsibilities of children, of parents? Anybody, you can go ahead and unmute your mic.
We seem to have a quiet room this evening. I'm not sure why.
I think you need to teach them how to be independent, how to be able to stand up on their own, but you have to show them, not just tell them, but give them the opportunity to do certain things on their own without criticism or whatever, but allow them that freedom to feel that they are making a choice with they're behind them, you're supporting them, but there are certain things that children have to learn how to step out into the world. Because as a parent, you may not always be there to provide that support. They need to be able to know that if anything happens to the parent, they can stand on their own.
That is true. And I saw it was supposed to be a humorous skit. It was about this man who died. So we're talking parents, yes, but it was this man who died and his wife was over his coffin. And she was asking him everything about what to do in the house, because apparently when he was alive, he did every single thing for her. So now he's dead. She's asking him, what knob is the knob for the dishwasher? And how you turn on the washing machine? Which knob, and what detergent is put in here? So every single thing she had to ask him. And I think sometimes that's the same way with children. Because parents love their children so much, and a lot of times the mother, she would pamper them so much that when they go out on their own, maybe university, they don't really know what they're supposed to do. I remember my mother, when I went to university, I met my sister there. My sister and I were roommates in university. She went before me and I joined her. And when she graduated and left, I remember mom used to call me every day and ask me if I ate and ask me if I cooked, because my sister was the one who used to do all the cooking. So yeah, that happens sometimes. We need to prepare our children to be adults, to be independent adults. I heard somebody talking before I started.
Yes, yes. Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Yes, Rebecca. Well, I come from church and I, just tried was following the program and I enjoy everything that you have been saying so far. Very informative.
Thank
And
you.
it's nice to see your face.
Yes,
Yes,
I'm
but
usually behind the camera.
yeah, I don't know if that was said before, but it's important for us to note that parenting starts from fertilization and not from when the child is born. My wife and I, well, after marriage, the Lord bless us with 3 children, 2 girls. Well, the girls does make you feel as a daddy because they are really daddy girls. And the boy actually make you feel as a man, but the boys are really mommy, more on mommy's side. But the things that I enjoy, my wife and I, we was a team with our children. And my best part with them was from the fertilization. When my wife said, I'm pregnant, the excitement start and the jubilation, and every day, I will come home with joy and jubilation to lie and to play with the belly, to watch it grow and to talk with them. Wow. It come like if I'm going back to those moments. My wife just stepped inside. Well, you was having some moments, something running off. But if you listen, a lot of dog around right now. Because my wife and I actually were outside enjoying the moonlight.
Okay.
Yes. So that bonding, to me, that is where the bonding starts, talking with them. When the wife is pregnant, and I normally will say, we are pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah. And as the belly, the months keep going by, and when you start to talk and you see movements and kicking up, and and I really enjoy those days. And with my wife, the children, all of them are cesarean. So when the children were born, because of the cesarean and she couldn't really get up to attend to them, I was the one, I will bathe them, dress them, put them to the breast. All in the night when they cry, I will be there with them. And even now, although our children, they are adults, they are living their own life. When anything happened to them when they will go, even at this stage, they will always come to daddy because the bonding was there from fertilization right through. They grow up always see us very affectionate and looking forward for when they will have their own family that they could take that with them, right? But one of the things we teach our children to be leaders and not followers, to be role models. And it's important for parents to teach their children to be leaders, not followers, to stand up for what is right and to be good examples. Not to go around looking for example, but be an example. Yeah. So I could leave it there for now. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you very much for bringing in that point, because no, we did not talk about parenting as starting before the baby is actually born. And that is
Yeah, that
actually a
part,
good
yeah.
point.
So that to me is the sweetest part. That bonding, yeah.
That is actually a good point because I've often read that when you start bonding with the baby, it's almost as though when baby comes out, the baby recognizes the person who was talking to them or the person who was singing to them. So even
That's right.
before
That's right.
the baby comes out, you
That's
can
right.
actually start parenting this little one. And that is a very important point that some people miss because sometimes they say, oh, well, I'm giving you the money for the Pampers and for the milk and for whatever. And they don't come around before the baby is born to start nurturing, taking care of the mommy, loving up the mommy when she's pregnant with the baby, so that the love and the peace that the mommy is experiencing during that time, it is flowing through her system and is affecting the baby. All those things people don't consider. But yes, even before the baby is born, parenting begins. And so
Yeah,
you play nice
that's right.
classical music if that's what you like, and the baby comes out falling asleep to that kind of music because that is the type of music that they were hearing before they were born. All those things are really lovely. I've read.
Yeah, that's right. And even walking out the baby early morning walk. That is
Yes.
something that I always look forward to. Take them for the early morning walk. And
Before the
so
sun gets
our
hot.
children, they grow up so attached to me that even now, and we grow up with this family hug. After family worship, we'll have the family hug, all of us. Even now, when they come home, they're always running to hug for us, to hug each other. I remember when our son was in university, when we reached, both my wife and I, when we reached them, we got end by saying, I love you, and we will hug. And the children in university and even school will say, wow, that is so nice. You know, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember there was a student in Form 6 who every day she would come onto the school compound with one big red lipstick planted on her cheek. And I just felt that it was so nice. And she never rubbed it off. She just had it there. Her mommy would kiss her every morning when she left the car. And to me, I just felt that it was so sweet. Some of those things that we think that that's only reserved for the little ones. No, when they get bigger too, we do appreciate that as well. So like I said sometime earlier, really does not end. Parenting does not end. Once you're a parent, that's it. Until one of you die.
Yeah, no graduation from that.
Nope.
Yeah, no graduation. And even our grandchildren, they enjoying it, pass on to them. So they come by, they love to see my wife and I hug each other and we kiss. They say, ooh. Yes, children get excited when they see parents, and they know when parents are in love with each other.
They do. Yes.
All right, so with all this that we know, then why does it seem as though a lot of parents are failing at their job? What are some of the things that they seem to be getting wrong? So I came up with some of the reasons why some parents tend to find it really, really difficult, or some of the things that they do or are not doing that is causing it to look as though they have abandoned the job. Not knowing when to say no to your children. One of the things that I've discovered is that if you grew up not liking something, or if you grew up not having something, you believe that when you have yours, your children must not experience the same thing that you did. So if there was a time where whenever you ask your parents for something they could not give you because they didn't have the money, you believe that when you have your children, every single thing they ask you for, whenever they ask you, you need to give them, because you don't ever want them to be in the same position that you were in when you were their age. That is not necessarily leading them in the right direction. There's something to be learned about delayed gratification. There is something that you learn when you have to work for something or earn something. And so it's not every single time your child asks for something, they'll get it one time or they'll get it at all. Sometimes they will need to earn it. But parents do that, and it is their way of showing love to their children when they do not say no. And that could sometimes lead the children to be very spoilt, feel very entitled, and that is not necessarily preparing them for the reality of the world, of life.
Mhm.
Being unrealistic in their expectations. Of course, there are some people who want their children to be little perfect humans. No, we don't want any of our children going to jail or anything like that. But sometimes parents overdo it in their effort to make their children perfect. So you tend to be a little bit unrealistic in what you ask for. And when you ask for something that the children cannot deliver and it's stressing them out, then it's just like a cycle. You are stressed out because your child is not delivering. Your child is stressed out because you're asking for too much. They never could deliver. They're never good enough. And that would be reflected in the relationship between the both of you. And that is very similar to the parent who does not accept anything less than 100%. You get an A in all your subjects, and you get a minus in one of them. And the only thing the parent acknowledges is that you got an A minus. Why couldn't it be a full-on A like all the others? So nothing is celebrated except it is perfection, except it is 100%. You came first in tests, but you tied with somebody else in first place. Why couldn't you stand out and be the first place?
Rebecca, why are you telling my story? I got licks for that, you know. I got licks. And the girl who, well, I think I came second that time, but I tied with somebody at one time. The girl was slimmer than me, dry foot, as she was described at the time. How could you let that dry foot girl beat you in tests? And the reality is that I was getting sick. I ended up with pneumonia after the tests, after the test results. But my parents couldn't take it that I was first all the time, and suddenly I came second. They could not take it. And I think they passed on a little bit of that to me. Because at the time, it felt so unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I met a parent who, even though her son was getting 80-something and 90-something% in all his subjects, she insisted that he had to do lessons for all his subjects. And I was asking her, okay, which subject do you think he needs some help with? Which one is he failing? No, he's passing all of them, but he has to do lessons. So apparently the aim is to get 100%. I don't know if the aim was a scholarship. So, you have to do lessons because it always has to be 100%. You're not getting any recognition for anything less than perfection. Then there are parents who try to live their lives through their children. I wanted to be a doctor when I was growing up, and for whatever reason, that did not happen. So I'm giving you all the opportunities now. You have no excuse why you cannot be a doctor. And so you're pushing this poor child who really does not want to be a doctor, probably wants to get into construction. But of course, construction is unacceptable. So that is one of the things that parents do that is wrong, trying to live their life through their children. Not preparing your children for adulthood. So we talked about that, teaching them life skills, how to budget. When you get your money, not to just spend out all. When you get, you go by your auntie, you go by your granny, and they give you some money, not to just spend it out next day. How to control your anger, how to deal with conflict. How do you make proper decisions? How to be a critical thinker? All those things, are you preparing your children for that? Those are the things that you would need, some of the things that you would need as an adult. I remember, and sorry in advance, Mommy, because Mommy is listening. I remember when we were growing up, I don't think my mother wanted us to wear high heel shoes. We just, all in our teens, we used to wear flat shoes. And I don't think she wanted us to wear high heel shoes. Somebody gave us a pair of shoes and it had some heels, and she had my brother sew it down so that it would not be high heel. And as an adult, I remember buying high heels and mommy asking me, "You could walk in that, you sure?" Oh, Jesus, this can't happen. This can't keep happening all the time. And mommy asking me, "You sure you could walk in that?" Because in her mind, it was kind of dangerous, and she never prepared us to be adult women walking in high heels. So something as simple as that. I remember telling that to one of my colleagues, and she was telling me how her mother actually trained them to walk in high heels. So something as simple as that, teaching your girls how to be a woman, how to color coordinate, how to wear things that is best suited for their body type, teaching your boys how to properly seat a woman, how to open a door, things like that. Sometimes we fail in those things. So we make children, the children grow up, and they just have to kind of learn along the way. But like I said in the introduction, we do have parents who did not do anything, but of course their children grew up to be well-functioning, well-balanced adults, okay? But of course we have those who don't do too well. Comparing your children to their siblings or other relatives. That's a big thing. We know that there's competition among relatives, and everybody wants to be proud of their child. So when I come to the family gathering at Christmas time and Dr. Ward shares her story about her child, you know, I need to come with an equally lovely story about the achievements of my child. So if every year I can't come with anything to match, then when I go home, I have some serious talking to do to my children, because you can't be showing me up like this all the time. So comparing your children to other children or even their siblings is something that parents do. And I think sometimes with good intention, but it does not work out well. Doing everything for your children, making all their decisions. Because I think sometimes it's easier that way than to wait for them to process. As adults, we know how to do things already because we've done quite a lot of things. And it's kind of the easy way to do, to just go ahead and make the decision rather than wait for them to process it. But doing everything for them and not letting them make their own decisions and make their own mistakes and learn along the way really is not helping them mature and learn new things. Not being intentional about helping your children feel good about themselves. We mentioned that a little bit earlier. If you are from a family where people don't hug, or they don't say I love you, or if I put on a nice dress, nobody compliments me. But I remember wanting to feel that way. Then it makes sense that if I make children, it would be nice for me to do what I wanted done to me. So say nice things. That dress looks really nice on you. That dress fits you well. The color takes you really well. That haircut makes you look really nice and sharp. So give your children compliments, make them feel good about themselves. I usually tell my children, every morning you get up and you look at yourself in front of the mirror when you just come from the shower, find at least 3 things to compliment your own self about. Find 3 positive things to say about yourself. There are lots of people who are not going to like you. It's important that you go into the world liking yourself. And parents can definitely play a role in that. So we're coming down to the end, but I wanted us to talk about what are some of our responsibilities as people who do not own our own children. And I know there was a time, once upon a time, when if you did something wrong in school and the neighbor down the road heard, the neighbor would discipline you, and then you got home and your parents would discipline you, and your parents had no issue with the neighbor down the road disciplining you. But of course, we don't live in those days anymore. The parents would probably come and meet you down the road if you interfered with their child. So I felt it was the sensible thing to do to talk about the rights of the child and how people generally should treat children. Even though the child is not yours, children all have rights. Children have right to an education. They have right to a clean environment, to be included, whether it is education, play. They have right to their own opinions. We shouldn't shut them down, to be not abused. So even if the child is not yours, even though the child is not mine, we do have a responsibility to ensure that the children around us are safe and they're healthy, because those are the ones who are going to be the prime minister and the representative for our area in the future. So even if we don't want to beat somebody's child because they will probably come and beat us, we do have to recognize that children do have rights and we have a responsibility toward all of them, even if we did not birth them. So I want to close off by asking, who is a good parent? So I'm gonna drop my definition here of who is a parent, and then I'm going to who is a good parent, and then I'm going to open it up for you to tell me who you think a good parent is, right? So for me, a good parent is someone who does their best for their child, who works in the best interest of the child. Somebody who makes an effort, somebody who, although they're not perfect and will not do everything perfect, they are making an effort and they're not being spiteful and they're not doing anything out of anger or vengeance, but they're really doing whatever they're doing because they believe that is the correct thing to do. So for me, that is the definition of a good parent. What is your definition of a good parent? Anybody?
I will say, good night, everyone. I will say someone who teach by precept and example. Because for instance, I do religious instruction, and today in class, a child has some his fingers, and this is the second child I see it with this, but in different schools. And I said, what happened to your hand? And he was like, he punched something. I said, when I say the other teacher who teach will be say, what you punch? He punched a glass. He was so angry that he punched this glass, and eventually the hand tie up, so that means he cut his hand. So as you mentioned before about anger, where are they getting this, where he getting this anger from? What going on there? So I'm saying we as parents, we teach by precept and example. You understand what I'm saying? So the children look at our behavior. Then there's a neighbor. He curses his children all the time. He talk to them, it's just the F word, F word, F word. The mother will curse the father in front of them. Yet to hear, I didn't hear what the child said to the father, but the mother, don't talk to your father like that. You don't respect your father. Right? So how are the children going to respect the father when that is what they are getting? They learn by what they hear, they see, and so forth. You understand? So we must be very careful what we do. As you was talking before about love and affection and how we treat them, and all of this is true. You understand? But on the other, you have the flip side to that. And with the flip side to that, now you're seeing it in the school, you're seeing it in the community. You understand? So that is just my point there, because it's two schools. Like I have 3 schools that I go to. But in 2 of the schools, children were banned. What happened? I was so angry. I punched the wall. This child was about 8 years, and the next one was about 10, if it's so much. You understand? So, you have to wonder what's really going on there. Anger coming out there, that they're so angry, and then they punch. And I say, well, when you punch the wall, you could punch somebody, you could hurt somebody, you could hurt yourself. You understand? So, precept and example, I would say. That's my contribution.
And I want just to add towards a good being who is a good parent, I want to add unselfish love, sacrifice, and commitment. Because with my wife and I as parents, those were key factors in our parenting: unselfish love, sacrifice, and commitment, to our children.
So we have people that we know that we consider good parents, and we have people who we consider not so good parents. So what can be done? Take parenting seriously enough to read a lot, ask questions, attend parenting seminars. So even though you already have children, you can still ask questions, you can still attend parenting seminars, bearing in mind that there are lots of people around you who made children. So don't be afraid to ask them, what did you do when your child was giving trouble? How do you handle this? I'm not so sure how to deal with it. So ask a lot of questions. So that's not only if you are planning to have a child, even when you have children, you can still ask questions and get guidance along the way. As far as possible, be intentional about being a parent. Don't let whatever happen. And you tell yourself, well, my parents didn't give me any guidance and I didn't come out half bad. No, don't leave it a chance. Be intentional about guiding your children, about showing them love, about preparing them for the future. So make a plan for them. This is where I want my family to go. This is what I see for my children. Be intentional. Communicate with your children. Let them have a say in decision making, even the little ones. For example, if you want to make your house rules, let them have a say in what the rules should be, what the punishment should be. What about the schedule for the chores? Let them have a say in that as well, because even though they are young, they have a mind and they can contribute as well. Listen to your children. A lot of people say, I am the adult here and you have to listen to me. But it's important that we listen to our children as well, because they are humans and they too have feelings and they too have a contribution to make. So listen to your children. Bear in mind that as adults, we make mistakes as well. So treat your children with the same grace with which you treat yourself. For example, your child spills the milk or breaks a glass. Would you beat up yourself because of that? You would say, oops, I made a mistake. So there's no need to beat your child or beat up on them, because that is something that you as an adult could have easily done as well. Get a support system. Parenting is a job that requires a lot of support. Of course, ideally, you would say 2 parents, but there are lots of reasons why people can end up being a single parent. Get a lot of support around you. One person doing this job is going to become overwhelming really quickly. Acknowledge, let me leave that one for last. Take care of yourself. Parenting can get very frustrating. You can feel very overwhelmed and make decisions that you would not normally make. So take care of yourself, even if you have to call in some people to babysit, even if you have to tell your children, all right, mommy and daddy are going out tonight to a hotel, mommy and daddy are going on a date night, something, get a babysitter, tell them, okay, you all settle down to your schoolwork or something. But you do need to take care of yourself as a parent. Don't forget that now that you are parents, you are still mommy and daddy. You are still the lovers. You are still the people who met and fell in love before you made the children. So please nurture that side of you as well. And the last one here is acknowledge when your children have become adults and adjust to your new role as parent in their life. I think a lot of parents have difficulty letting go and acknowledging that their children are grown and they're going to do some things that you probably would not like. But your role is now different. It's not, you're not going to beat them like you beat them and tell them, no, you can't do this or you can't do that. So adjust to your new role as your children become adults. So that is what I wanted to share with us tonight. And I know for many of us it will be a reminder, but I trust that just as we need reminders and little injections in our life every now and again, that you felt that it was beneficial to you. Thank you very much for listening in and for showing up tonight.
Thank you, Rebecca. Akisha, I'm not seeing you. I wonder if she's chasing something there. I'm not seeing her, you know. Something might have attacked her as well. Akisha, you know, I took so much notes this evening. I'm not accustomed to taking so much, but we had some rich information. I'm coming back to this song. It's not que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. What do you say, Akisha?
Yes, of course. As parents, you have responsibility, and as we would have heard throughout the presentation, the responsibility is from the beginning throughout the child's life, you know, and we should take those responsibilities seriously because we want to form and we want to bring up children who can, you know, add value to society. In order to do that, parenting plays a key responsibility. So, yeah. That's very important.
Yes, and we received so much rich information as to where we have failed and what could be done. And I keep thinking about this song, whatever will be, will be. It seems like a careless way of approaching things. What do you say?
In serious matters, yes.
Mhm.
For issues of other things, then whatever would be. This is appropriate. But in serious matters, in upbringing your children, yes. I think as parents, you should have a plan, you know. It's not parenting is not just having a child. We heard it in the presentation this evening. It's not just about having a child. So you should have a plan and you should execute that plan. And I love the fact that Rebecca mentioned very early. I can't remember the term she used, but she said kind of encourage your children or almost like plant seeds in them, give them ideas, show ideas to them, and let them know that, hey, these are some of your positives, these are some of the skills I see in you, and this might be appropriate. Because oftentimes when you're young and you go to school, if you don't have that vision, you don't know, you don't know what subjects you want to choose, you don't know where to go, you don't know, you know, and if you don't have that guidance. So when adults in your space and parents take that responsibility and introduce you to many things, then I think you'll be in a better position to make a decision based on, I think I like math, or I think I like science. So, you know, so key responsibilities of parents as well.
Yes, and she made the point that we should not really be making the choices. I want you to be a doctor and I want you to be. I remember saying to my daughter who lives in the US now, you know, when there was a particular pastor who was close to the family, I said, I want you to get married to a pastor. And she said, and why didn't you marry one? You know, and I had to laugh. But it was a sobering question. It helped me to understand, look, it's not just what you want, but they are individuals and they can make their choices. But I want to add something here too. One of the challenges I faced was the individual differences among the children. So I know you have one beautiful daughter. I have 5 children. Is something flying around you?
Oh no.
Yes. I I have had 5 and now 4 alive, and they were different. So whereas, you know, I had a certain vision for them and tried to bring them up in a particular way, there was one in particular who was quite resistant, and I guess that could be another conversation. So it's while Rebecca laid out, you know, what we should do, very wise instruction for us she gave. There are children who are going to resist. And so
Yes.
perhaps we should at some point in time address the challenging child and what we can do. Rebecca, we thank you for what you have shared with us this evening. Always there, always listening, always typing in the chat, but she didn't type in the chat this evening because she was the one presenting. Thank you so much. And Akisha, I just leave it with you now to take us through.
So some points to note, and again, I want to thank Rebecca, very good presentation. Some points to note, we have a God-given responsibility to parent well. What we do with children impact their future. Let us return to what is right. Help others to parent well, because not everybody know what to do. Play your part as a member of the village. Remember, Jesus is the friend of the wounded heart. So he wants us to be safe. So reach out to the friend of a wounded heart and let us make positive choices. And this evening, we talked about positive choices relating to parenting. But in general, let us make positive choices. And here ends this evening's topic, this evening's presentation on SERÁ. Next week, we are
Notice I
going
had
to...
a question mark at the end of it. SERÁ. It was, I said, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So next week, we're going to talk about mirror. So let's see what that is about. We'll see next Wednesday from 9 p.m. via the very same login credentials you used this evening to join us. So invite someone when you come next Wednesday. And remember, all of our sessions are recorded, so you can find it on Facebook. You can also find it on YouTube, where you can share the link for someone else to benefit from the information that you enjoy this evening. Now, as we come to a close, I want to thank everyone for participating in this evening's discussion. And again, Rebecca, for bringing us such information that you did this evening. So let's pray and close off for this evening. Dear God, Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for the opportunity that you allow us to have this evening to join in this program, A Friend of a Wounded Heart, and to benefit from the information that was shared in parenting. Dear God, I pray that despite us parents, sometimes we may not have all the knowledge that we need, but with your guidance, we can be good parents and we can help other persons who may not have it all together, dear God. Lord, we heard a lot this evening, and I pray that wherever we falter, that we would apply those principles in our lives so that we can be better and more productive parents. So in tune, we can have children who would grow up to be good citizens and good members of our society, dear God. Lord, I pray that you would be with Rebecca and all that she is doing in her part. I also pray that you be with every person that joined on this evening and was a part of our program and contributed to our program as well. Bless us as hosts and co-hosts of this program as well. Help us all, dear God, to have a good night as we log off this program. Help our homes to be safe and help us to join again next Wednesday to participate and benefit from another topic that comes where we can all participate in being good citizens. At the end of the day, that's what this program is about. So bless us and keep us is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Have a blessed evening, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.